Okay, so now there's another question which comes up often, which is, how do we know it's our intuition and not some other voice? Well, that's a bit related to what I've just been saying, because, you know, once we're aware, we get to know ourselves. We get to see what our deeper motivations are. We get to, just become kind of lovingly aware of those things, and so we get to more adept at choosing our responses. But generally speaking, from a kind of spiritual perspective, we are motivated by if you boil it all down, we're either coming from love or we're coming from fear. You know, all the complicated kind of things that we go through, we're either coming from a state of or avoiding what we don't want, or trying to manage things so we don't have to encounter the thing that we don't want, or we're coming from a place of love, connection, openness. So my practice in trying to learn what's intuition and what's perhaps a more kind of frightened voice is just to simply ask the question. If I've got a decision to make, I ask myself, should I accept this contract, this new consultancy contract? And if I come up with, oh yeah, better because I need the money, then I know that I'm coming from fear. If I go, oh, you know what, I'd love to work with those people because then I can recognise I'm coming from love. So it sounds very simple, but actually sometimes all it needs is for us to sit down and ask ourselves a question: am I coming from love or am I coming from fear? So that is just one real simple practical thing you can practice straight away. Another thing that goes on is it's to do the tummy test. You know, we talk about gut reaction, don't we? And really and truly, sometimes again, it's just a matter of asking the question. I could be wondering about tautness, thinking, I wonder where I'll get that dress that I'm after. And if I can just ask my body where it is, I can almost feel a kind of physical response, like a kind of radar going yes or going no. So yeah, check in with our physical experience. When we're in fear mode, we tend to feel contracted, obviously. When we're in love mode, we tend to feel expansive. So once again, we can check with our tummy, am I coming from love, am I coming from fear? I mean, sometimes we can be in love mode and we're a bit excited and trepidatious, but that's just a bit sort of superficial, fluttery stuff. But underneath, we know we've got an expansive feeling. Again, from my Buddhist background, I was taught that the Buddha said, because back in the Buddha's day, there were all these different spiritual traditions and teachings. It was a really rich culture at the time, not just Buddhism, but all sorts of things going on. And there were all sorts of people practicing, and they would go to the Buddha and say, Lord, I don't know which is a good teaching and which is going to lead me on the wrong path. And he said, if it's a good teaching, it's going to lead you to freedom. It's going to lead you to release. It's going to lead you to openness and expansion. If it's a bad teaching, it's going to lead you to contraction and shrinking. So again, that's just another very simple test. If it leads to expansion and freedom, feeling of freedom, chances are you're in love mode. If it leads to a feeling of contraction, chances are you're in fear mode. Yes, Elizabeth.
How does this fit with essentially feel the fear and do it anyway? That sense that if you say no to something because that creates fear in you, are you not then staying small? And that's where I get stuck with this whole idea, because I hear the love or fear thing as being totally valid, but this is the sort of grey area in the middle that I haven't quite worked through. So
I think the difference is this awareness thing. You know, getting to the place where you might feel fearful about doing something, and you might, it might be a challenge, it might be a big stretch, you might be outside your comfort zone and all that. But having identified that, how best to describe it? the difference is that you are aware, and so you're making it, you are feeling the fear and doing it anyway. You know you're feeling fear, but you can feel behind that is this expansive, bigger reality, which is deeply motivated by love, rather than fear. And so we can acknowledge the fear, include the fear, but choose to step with the love.
Great,
yeah,
thanks.
Yeah, I mean it's subtle, but yeah. I mean, and often when we're changing and growing, we are confronted with a lot of frightening, out of comfort zone type experiences. Yeah.
I was just going to say, Shemad, it's a bit like the thing, I'd love to do that, but... So you're coming at something that it's like my stand-up comedy course, you know. Oh, but I'm not funny, so I couldn't possibly do that. So if behind it is something you've always wanted or you've always dreamed of, but something's stopping, then you've got love behind it, but you've got a block.
Yeah.
So it's more,
Good, thank you.
We're nearly there, actually, this little introduction. So there's one concept I want to put in for the day, and it's something that many of you will have heard me talking about already, and it's this: 100% intention, 100% surrender. This is the magic formula for all life. 100% intention, 100% surrender. So this, I think, what I'm saying by this is this amazing juxtaposition paradox of how to be intentional, clear, active, out there, bold, masculine, all of these things, yang, and at the same time 100% surrender, 100% surrendered, receptive, allowing that thing I was talking about earlier, about us, we're all very good at the 100% intention, or a lot of us are pretty good at the 100% intention, but the 100% surrender, I think, requires a little bit more attention. Without one or the other, we get an imbalance. And if you look at many spiritual practices, you'll see that they contain both elements. It's the clarity and the boldness and that. It's the same in coaching. But then there's the let things happen as they are, let yourself be surprised, let yourself receive things in ways you didn't expect, take your hands off the reins, all that kind of thing. That's the feminine aspect, or the surrender aspect, that I think perhaps most of us need more help with. I mean, you can look at things like the book Ask and It's Given. That's the two things, the asking, but then there's the receiving. We'll be doing a manifestation practice, very last thing, which involves both the asking and the receiving. Because I think sometimes we can remember to ask, but then we forget to receive. So we walk about so briskly and boldly that it just bounces off us because we're not in a receptive kind of mode. Yeah, and so that theme of 100% intention, 100% surrender, we'll come back to during the course of the day. Great.